All right, welcome everybody to another edition of SharePoint Project Manager. Today we're going to do a quick, should take the full hour, overview of the presentation that I typically give anyone that's interested in this methodology to give them an idea about what we're doing here. Now, some of you came in later after we started this, and we've got an opportunity today because the normal team that's usually here for this, that this particular session was started for, they're having a big powwow down on the third floor, so I'm going to interject this. Some of you are familiar with this stuff, so jump in with questions if you have, but my goal is that at the end of this, that you'll come away with a greater sense of what this mission is about, what we're seeking to do. And I'm going to switch now to the screen, and this is our homepage for this initiative. Can I hit this? There we go. So there may even be no video for today. Okay, there we go. Now we're up to the screen. There's the screen up. So this is the homepage for our initiative, and I'm looking with loving eyes at David and Juan because these guys are web developers, and I am not a web developer, and this is my best effort at creating a homepage for this initiative. So guys, if you have ideas and suggestions for how I can improve this, please see me after and let me know, because I welcome any ideas, because I know this is not the best presentation. All I've basically got here is a homepage where I showcase 4 projects that we've got that are using this methodology, and I'm going to go through them one by one real quick to illustrate. First, I'm going to show you the template site, then I want to show you these 4 projects and show you how they're using the template to run their own projects and some of the features that are in those projects. But first of all, let's take a look at the template site. And here, I have to get it real up real quick, just a second. There we go. So, when all of this started, this all began because, like I said before, for the various and sundry reasons, but also because way about almost 5 years ago, I was tagged to be the project manager for the DPSS's Office 365 project, moving out to the Office 365 cloud. One of the tools in the Office 365 was SharePoint Online. Real quick, I realized, oh wow, here's a place where I can put documents and collaborate with people. And that's how it all started. I would put a document there, no more attachments. Yeah, woohoo, great, okay. And I was really, really lucky because I was at that time attached to the TSB bureau down on the 3rd floor. Those are the guys and the gals that run all of the systems, right? And I had some of the SharePoint administrators as part of this. I said, can you give me a site? And they gave me a site because we were friends. And I started using that site for that reason. After a while, I began to have more than one site and then another site, and it began to get a little more customized, and I began showing my sites to customers and saying, here's our site, right, for our project, and I would put a title on it and say, this is our project, right? After a while, I had like a dozen sites that were just all scattered all over the place, so I went to the administrators and I said, hey, can you give me this thing called a site collection, which is a container for all the sites, which is like really winning the lottery in SharePoint to get your own site collection. And guess what? They gave me one, with management's approval, right? They said, yeah, Kurt's running these things, he's creating these things, let's give him a site collection. And I put all the sites in that site collection. And then I realized that every project thing that was coming up, they weren't really projects then, they were just things, right? That was coming up, I was recreating the same tools every time, and it would take me like a whole day to recreate all the tools. So I said, I need a template. And I need to figure out a way to make a template. So I talked to my friends, the sysadmins again, they showed me how to make a template. So then I spent literally 3 months, every spare minute, lunch break, building the template, which you're seeing right here, to have all the tools all customized just the way I want them from, again, it's all about me. As my wife always likes to say, it's not all about you. But in this case, it was all about me because I was the only person doing this, right? I would build this so I could use it. Then I was able to, every time one of these things came up, instead of building it from scratch, I would just, I love this word, instantiate a new site out of the template. And it would have all the bells and whistles. And over time, I got better and better. A little bit later, I made friends with my other project managers, and they were like, hey, I want one too, so I'll give one to them, right? And we became partners on projects. That was Cindy Glenn, who's one of the faces you see up there. And Cindy's a real smart lady. She's retired now. She would give me all kinds of good critical feedback, and she'd say, project managers, Kurt, that's a neat list, but project managers, that's not how we work. We do it like this. She did it for a long time. And so I would refine it and fix it. So now this little thing started to look not just like a thing that for Kurt, but it looked like a thing that had influence from other project managers that had a lot of experience. So now it's starting to look a little better. And that process went on and on and on. Fast forward now 5 years later, and we've got this thing, and I want to make this available to anybody who wants a thing, right? The thing is, your thing has to be in this site collection and has to follow a couple of rules, because if we follow some rules, then we make sure there's consistency between how we're doing things. Also, a benefit that we found along the way was that the people that were using the thing with the same consistent way were getting really favorable results from the customers that were used to it, particularly DPSS. Sponsors at DPSS, and sponsors over at DPSS are typically assistant directors and their deputies, were getting familiar over time that they would see one of these things come up and they would know what it was right away. Oh, you're going to run this project that way. I know this way. I like this way, because this way I can track. I understand this, right? So Cindy and I began to glom onto that and say, wow, if you and I link arms and do all of our projects using this same look and feel and manner, we're going to get real good buy-in from our customers, because they know what to expect. Not only do they know what to expect, they help guide us because they know where we're going. They know the story. They may not know this story, but they know the archetype. What is it, Joseph Campbell's Heroes of a Thousand Faces, right? You know the archetype, you know where this story is heading, right? So you can pick it out of Star Wars, we know where this is going. Anyway, I'm drifting off. So what we've got now is the template site. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger right here. So this is the behind the scenes site that is used for everybody that wants a site. Our little methodology here, we have just a handful of project managers. We meet once every 3 months and we have a change control meeting, right? We have ideas about what we want to change. We bring it to the change control meeting. We arm wrestle in this room right here, and we make a change, and we change it to this site, this template. Now that change goes forward, right? So this is the latest, greatest in terms of this thing that we've created. Now, you see that it's empty, right? There's nothing in the timeline. There's no tasks. These are all libraries for PM documents, deployment documents, support, training, test, all kinds of different documents you might want to have. There's nothing in there. If you go into the status page, it's a blank status report template. You fill in all the yellow with all the details for your particular project. This part up here is instructions. This tells you how to use the status report. All you do is fill in this stuff. Do it every 2 weeks. You cut and paste, copy and paste into an email, send off to your team, and your status is done for the day. Sponsors love it when they get a regular status report, and it's a standardized look and feel, and they know what to look for, and it's all there. If you scroll down a little farther down that list, there's a document library, or there's a notebook. I'll show you that in just a minute. There's a document library. There are 6 documents in there that your project comes with. These are the 6 documents that you're most likely going to need. They're all in template form. You can see that the name of the document is here. Let me make that a little bit bigger here. There's a business requirements document. You just change it to your project name. Phased project charter, that's the heart and soul of this whole process right there. There's a sample. This one is all filled out. So if you don't know if you get the blank phased project charter, you don't know what to put in, take a look at the sample. It's from a real project that shows you what you can put in there. And then there's a closure report presentation. That's a PowerPoint presentation that we use at the very end. And then there's a closure report, and then your status report. That is simply the document that this other thing links to, right? You never need to create more than one, because SharePoint just superimposes the status on top of 2 weeks ago status, and builds up after time. We have a lot of other documents Cindy and I and the other project managers have collected over time. Every time we find a really good and useful document, we pull it in, we brand it with the RCIT brand and logo, we clean it all up, and we put it in our library. We have a library of templates. So if you come in and you say, I need a requirements document, or I want a RCIT diagram or something like that. It's all in there, but it's not in here. I don't load your project with that. I'll show you where the library is. The ServiceNow, if your project has ServiceNow tickets, you can link in here. So you can just come in here and link to, it's nothing fancy, it's just a link to the ServiceNow ticket. Milestones, okay, this is where interesting here. If you click on the home, you'll see that there are no milestones, nothing. It looks like there's nothing to do, right? Because the projects, when they actually get created, will have lists of all the things you need to do. But if you click in milestones, it's not empty. There are things in there. These are you can't quite see it, there's one more. These are the steps of this little process. There are 10 steps and 5 phases, really just 4. The 5th phase is something we added so that we can tell people when they come to us and they say, this is great, but I really want this too. And I don't have to tell them no. I can say, okay, I'm going to add it to the want list for later, and you'll have that in phase 2. And that's down here. This post-project activities, you just plug that in. But for the most part, these are the 10 steps that you're going to do. And I'll talk more about those in a second. But the reason that they're here and they're not on the home page is because they don't have a date. The only thing that appears on the home page is stuff that has a date and actually is not done. So real quick, I can go ahead and edit this. Let's take this business case piece right here and put a due date on it of tomorrow. I won't be here tomorrow, so there's no chance it'll be done. And I'm going to put a stop on that. And when I go back to the home page, there it is. It appears. So the idea is that on the home page, we're only showing the work that has yet to be done and that actually has a date on it. So we're not confusing people by showing them everything we've ever done, right? Now, some project managers don't like that. Jeff Higlin is one of our project managers using this. He likes to show his work. So he's disabled that feature, and that's okay as a project manager. You can do that. It's your site, right? So I'm going to go back and change this because remember, this is the master site, right? I shouldn't be messing around on the master site. So oh wait, before I do that, let me show you what happens here. Let's go back to the home. If I mark it as done and then refresh, it goes away. Right? Because it's done. And we don't care about seeing that on the home page. I didn't even have to refresh. SharePoint was smart enough to wipe it off right away. Let's go back into Milestones and take that off. I did that once and I had a demo and I forgot to take it off, and I changed the project manager to Jolie. And now Jolie showed up as the project manager. I forgot to remove it. And Jolie showed up as the project manager in like 20 projects after that. There we go. And it's no longer done. There we go. Okay, reports, that's just a place where you can put reports that you come up with. Testing, really powerful, if I do say so myself. And I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, this is a really powerful feature. The reason it's powerful is that through several projects, I got influence from our 3rd floor and our 5th floor teams telling me what a Whopper test protocol should look like, and how coming up with a mechanism by which we could develop the test protocols and then play a ping pong match between the testers out in the field, and the ball goes back and forth. Okay, ready to test, your turn, and they do the test, and then ready to what do you call it? Regression test, and I found a problem, develop it back, and I would watch the developers and the testers ping pong the test item back and forth. It really works. And I'll show you more about that in a second. But if you look at it right in here, it looks like nothing because there's nothing in there. It's not until you click on New that it exposes all of the items in this list that were developed, for example, in the test state. This is how you ping pong it back and forth. Ready for retesting, unresolved, see developer comment, see tester comment. Once you get all that going and you get the teams trained, they're off to the races. And then pages, let's see, get rid of this. Say goodbye. Pages, team is where you list all the humans on your team. Log, that's another powerful list. Under log, you record everything that happens in a project, whether that item be a decision, a change, an issue, an action item, or a communication. This is where remember I said before, another problem that I was having was that I was making promises that I wasn't keeping. And it wasn't because I'm a dishonest person. It's because I forgot about them, right? Now I don't forget about things because as they come up, I record them. One was in one of my meetings yesterday, and I didn't allow myself, at the end of the meeting, I dismissed the group. I didn't allow myself to leave the meeting until I properly recorded all of the promises that I made in the log. So I make sure I wouldn't forget about them in the future. Now, those of you that are familiar, you guys all know about decisions, changes, issues, action item, communication. There's a biggie that's missing from that list. Can anybody pick out what's missing in there? A big project, thing that we encounter sometimes. It's probably the biggest of all.
Tasks?
Tasks? Nope, not tasks. We handle them as action item.
Okay.
We handle them. Well, task and action items are different.
Yeah.
Strictly speaking, a task is something that we identified at the start of the project that, hey, we're going to have to build this thing, we're going to have to do these 10 things. Those are the tasks, right? An action item is something that we forgot about and added later. Or we're also going to have to do this. That's an action item. And the reason we distinguish those is that later we can go back and see what we scoped out appropriately ahead of time and what we forgot about but added in. If we do it again, we'll know that, make those tasks too. It starts with an R.
Risk.
Yeah, that's right. There's no risks in here. Originally, I had risks in here. And what I found was that this tool wasn't robust enough to handle risk. Risks are a completely different animal, right? So risks have their own list right here. Just go scroll up here real quick, cancel that. Risk right there. If you open up a risk, it's a completely different animal. You identify the title, you add the description and the options. I'll show you a real risk. We had one on Monday that came up. And with the team, we're scoping out, what is this thing? And they're giving me the language. Tell me how it impacts us. What are our options? What are the pros and the cons? And they put all that stuff in there. And then we have a thing that helps us quantify the risk. What is the probability of the risk of occurrence from 1 to 5? What's the impact from 1 to 5? What's the rating? It's probability time impact. A lot of people hate doing this stuff, but it helps then to sort. If we have like 10 risks, we can use this to then rank the risks in order which ones are the most severe we can work on first. Then the urgency and then the severity. That number there, I think, Juan, you figured out that maximum potential was 125.
Yeah, they're all 5s.
We were working on one on Monday that came out to be a 75, so it's a little more than halfway up the scale. And then what's the strategy? How are we going to handle this? Are we going to transfer it, mitigate it, accept it, exploit it, and share it? There's all kinds of things. This is all standard PM stuff, right? And then guess what? So when we're all done, we then have carefully documented the risk. We then simply share, because you can see all of these items, you can simply share the risk off to the sponsor, and they've got everything they need right there. They just click on the link, they can review it, and we guide them, and they make a decision. We're done. And then in the link library, and that's about it. Now, do you have any questions about this blank template? If you use this methodology when you have a new project, you come see me, I ask you a few questions, I spin up one of these sites with your name, your site project's name on it, and I give you the keys to the car. You can then have all these tools at your discretion and disposal to use. Well, the rest of the whole training, the reason I do this whole thing is teaching people how to do it, because I spent a whole year in what I call the adoption phase where I was doing this. For a whole year, I was going around, you need a project, you need a project, here, give me a site. They'd come sit with me for 10 minutes. I'd never see them again, right? They would use it as a document, because nobody figured it out, because it wasn't, even though it's simple, it wasn't very self-explanatory. So I started doing these weekly training sessions to say, hey, if you want to use it and learn how to use it, come have lunch with me. I'll come bring you breakfast. So with that, let us now go to whichever of these links I have. Let's look at some actual projects, okay? This is Cindy Glenn. She was my partner in crime before she retired. I'll never forgive her. And she's off doing great things for the world now. And one of the projects that she and I worked on is the Windows 10 DPSS project. This is an active live project, and you'll recognize the template, right? But instead of being just a blank template, it's fully laid out with all the artifacts of our project. We have our planning phase, we have our testing phase, which included UAT and pilot. and not just regular pilot. We had our Ring 1 pilot and a Ring 2 pilot, and then we had our post-pilot remediation period. And then we had our deployment phase. We're right a little past 50% mark right now. We're on track to finish deployment at the start of September, but right now, just between you and me, we're about a month ahead of schedule, so we're hoping for a nice surprise at the end. And then the all-important closure phase right there at the end. And now if you look at this, this is an exact match for those 10 steps, right? Those 10 steps are laid out into phases. There are the 1, 2, 3, 4 phases. The 5th thing was the promises that things we're going to do later, right? So there they are, right there. Now if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see that, hey, there's some work, right? Yeah. Right now the team is in, where the heck are they? I can't remember where they are. They're on site right now. I can't remember where they are. They're someplace this week, but it's not showing because we're there. Next coming up is on 17th, we're going to be in Temecula. This is a project where we're going out and we're upgrading the entire county to Windows 10. We have 30 plus sites to visit, a team of 15 staff. They are marching out. They're getting in vans every morning. They're driving out to these sites and they're scattering through the site and upgrading everybody to Windows 10. And they go from one city to another. And you can see that each city in Temecula, they'll be at 2 addresses. When they get to Murrieta, they'll be at 2 addresses. In Lake Elsinore, there's just 1 address. Norco and Corona, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 addresses. It's a very logistically complex project that we've got right now, and every city has a 19-step checklist we have to go through to make sure we get it all done. But what I wanted to show you on this particular project is the status report. Okay? Oh, and further down, if we go down, you can see that the document libraries chock full of documents. Everything's in here, all the stuff we need. Oh, look at all these test documents. We have all kinds. The testing was so complex for this project because we have 4 divisions. We have 6 different hardware types. We have like 25 different custom applications that all have to be tested. That's why our testing period was 3 months for that. And then down here, all the way down here, here's documents for all of our sites, and here's our site maps. We have site maps for everything. But if we scroll up real quick, I want to show you the status report. In the template, the status report was a blank document, right? If we look at the status report for this, and I just sent this out on Friday, so it's very fresh. So I have a little note to myself, include Sarah Mack, who is who's assistant county executive officer, because she's got her ear to the ground on this, and Daniel Vager. So this is an email. Status. The email subject line is status, Windows 10 DPSS project. The email begins, sponsors and stakeholders. The following is your bi-weekly status report for the Windows 10 DPSS project. This email is addressed to the sponsors at the CC at the to line, right? That is the boss at RCIT that cares about this, which is Anita Abraham, and the boss at DPSS that cares about that. That is Sherry Studebaker. And then I also have these two. And then I CC everybody else. Date 6/7/2019. Health green. Status: the Windows 10 DPSS project remains green with full deployment underway. A total of 721 updates have been so far completed at 31 sites. The team will begin work at Paris next week. Oh, that's where they are. They're in Paris this week. Milestones: here are in process and upcoming. Here's what we're headed towards. And here's a list of all of our risks, issues, and change, and a description. And down here's a link to the site. If I go into my email real quick and search for, let's actually search for sent, sorry. Just search for status. Oh, goodness gracious. There we go. And it should be right on down here. There it is. And come on down here. There we go. There's the email right there. Now it's highlighting status because that's what I was searching for. So all I did was, every Friday, it's my Friday on. That's all the project managers that do that. We call our Friday on our status Friday. I don't allow myself to leave the building until all my status reports are out. Because that's where I gain and I maintain the trust of my sponsors. They know they're getting a status report from me, and they know they're getting a status report from me even if it ain't pretty. They're getting one from me. And there's the document right there. Same thing. So all you do when it's your time to, oh, how many links do I have open now? There it is. All you do is just click on it and just start editing it. And then you don't even have to click save. It saves by itself. You just cut and paste and you're done. I don't know why it takes me half a day to do this every time, 'cause I've only got 5 projects. Okay. Oh, let's close some of these things down. There's goodbye to the template site, goodbye to whatever this is, goodbye to whatever that is. We're done with the status report. And we'll keep that open, that, and here we go. There we go. Okay, that was the Windows 10 project. Any questions? Yes, sir.
About the status report, do you create a new document?
Nope.
So you overwrite the...
Just SharePoint versions it.
Okay.
So I can, if I need to, I can go back, and I've got the email. Right? I can just do a search for all my status reports. So,
Okay.
yeah. I was doing that originally, but it was a mess. So much easier to do it this way. Now this is a project here. This is Angela Hines. She's one of our BRMs. She sits right across the door over here. And she's adopted our methodology as well. And we're going to take a look at her project for the soft skills training and initiative. And what jumps out for this project is that it's done. Okay? And therefore it has no work left to be done. Everything is finished. What I wanted to show you here was there anything in particular? No, nothing in particular, just that. There, that's a project that's finished. The next one is, oh here, this is Jeff's project, ProWatch Card Access Upgrade. Jeff has done a phenomenal job of not only adopting this methodology, but providing really good feedback. You know, I basically, even though he's not part of the team because he's got other things he's doing, I drag him along to all the meetings. Jeff, tell me what you know, because he's got good ideas. Here, you can see that I didn't do anything. He did all of this, okay? He has created his project. He's got 1, 2, 3, there's the 4 phases right there, including the all-important closure phase. He's doing it. What's interesting is that looking at his execution phase, this is where they're going up and upgrading badge readers all across the county, right? So they're actually putting new systems in. Every one of these blips looks like a heartbeat, right? That's a site that they're visiting. Bang, 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 all across the ring. Over here, 2 sites he's visiting. And over here, well, 3 sites they're visiting in one day, and then they're done. And then Jeff's going to wrap up with his closure phase. Very, very nice job, Jeff. He's adopted the process quite nicely. And what's also interesting is that Jeff has changed his list. I told you before, he's changed it so he shows all of his work here. He's also got something interesting over here. He added, these columns are customizable. So he added over here a link directly to the ServiceNow ticket. It might ask me to log in. Directly to the ServiceNow, because his work is so integrated into ServiceNow, he just power right into it. So you can see what the ServiceNow activity is for that site. Good job, Jeff. Okay, last one, this guy over here. That is not my parole officer's photo. That is, with my gosh, how deer in the headlights was that? Oh my gosh. This is a project called the HMIS Homeless Application Project. The Department of Social Services, actually County of Riverside has uses an application called HMIS to keep track of the homeless population, to manage services for them. Our current vendor, not so much, we don't like them very much. So we're trying to get a new vendor, and it's this very small application. There's only like 5 vendors in the country that make this application. So this is our project to do that. So I was tagged to be the project manager for this, even though it's not an IT project. I'm just basically, this is RCIT giving a project management service, right? What is, if you look at that timeline, what stands out as missing?
The closure?
Yeah, the closure phase is missing, right? And there's a very interesting reason for that. Okay, what we've got over here is the pre-project evaluation phase. That's the stuff that we're doing before it even becomes a project. The project started, look at that. The project didn't start until I had an agreement between the customer and RCIT about what we were going to do. A lot of people think the project starts the day you get the sticky note. No, for me the project starts when we have agreement. Yeah, we're just really going to do this, right? Because we may not do it. That's when it started. Then the planning phase began. Well, the planning didn't begin until after that. Yeah, and I'm still working on it. I'm actually struggling because I've got executives who can't get in their office. Anyway, way over here, back up again. Okay, what we're doing with this is that we have, remember I told you there are 5 vendors in the nation that do this software? This is a really, really specialized software. Really specialized software. We don't even know enough about this software to know the right questions to ask. So DPSS realized that we need to bring in a consultant who's expert at this. There are consulting firms that have people that are so well trained in this that they sell their service to have these consultants come see us to tell us what we need to think about. And that's what this is, the sub-phase, the consultant phase. So we're selecting a contractor start date, and then the contractor is going to help us develop an RFP. That RFP then sends out to the audience of 5, so we make sure that we have true requirements. Then the vendors have this long vendor evaluation, and then we have a contract in negotiation with the vendor, including the board of supervisors approving it, and then we say, okay, now we've got a contract with the vendor. They're going to do the work, right? So the reason this doesn't have a closure phase, David, is that I don't know the vendor's going to tell us what to do, right? And then the vendor's going to say, okay, here's what it's going to take, here's the timeline, and then I'm going to attack the closure phase at the back of that. That's all going to start after January 1st, 2020. It's going to go, prepare it, and then I'll put closure at the end.
So you really don't have an end date?
No, I don't, because the vendor's going to tell us what the end date. The vendor's going to say, okay, you selected us, you gave us this long list of requirements that were vetted by the consultant. It's going to take us 1.5 years to do this, or 2 months. I don't know what it is, right? I don't know what it is. Yeah.
So I noticed that the planning phase is sort of after the execution phase started.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is sort of this is a cart before the horse kind of project?
No, not really. Because and I struggled with this when I came up with this. I'm using that word execution phase to define the team that I'm part of right now, our work, which is finding a contractor, making the RFP, and selecting a vendor. I will extend that into when the contractor does it. But I could have 2 execution groups, right? There's our work and their work. It's all execution.
Right.
But good point, right? I mean, it's not. It's really planning still, right? I could have rearranged this puzzle several ways.
You would actually have planning phases and execution phases.
Interspersed.
You'd have a phase for consultant selection / award contract, then you'd have another planning phase for the actual project being implemented.
Exactly. See, yeah, I haven't really sat up enough at night to wonder what this is going to look like over there, right? So I was taking my own artifacts and using them over for my piece. I'll have to rearrange this puzzle or rethink it, right? So there you go. So what I wanted to show you here for this one right here is something that I haven't shown you yet, which is the notebook. The notebook is the heart of this whole thing, okay? Let's go ahead and open that up. And when you first see this, do these doors have locks? Can we lock it? No, we can't lock it, okay. I wanted to try to lock the door so you can't escape. Because when you first look at this, you're gonna say, I want no part of this. Because Kurt's nuts. He's clearly an A-type personality. Who would ever keep this much detailed information, okay? Okay, this is called the project story. I believe that every project, every endeavor, human endeavor tells a story. And the story is interesting for the story motif is interesting for 2 reasons. One, it reminds us that everything has a start, a middle, and an end, and to not forget those pieces. The other piece that the story does is if we record the story, we know where we've been and we know where we're going. And I've done enough projects that have turned out to be, I do the same project again 2 years later, that having a good record of what I did with that other story helps me to then recreate that story at a later date. This Windows 10 thing, I'm going to do a Windows 20 someday, right? And I'm going to go back and look at my story, and I'm going to write a really good story for Windows 20 because I know all the mistakes I made. Anyway, the first thing that jumps out is there's 2 things, right? Team meetings and Cherie's notes. Who the heck is Cherie, right? Cherie is, whenever I'm having projects I work for the Department of Social Services exclusively right now, I always ask the department, give me my counterpart. I want somebody on your side that's me over there, that I can get on the phone with and say, Cherie, we got a problem. And she can handle things on her end, right? Cherie is that woman. She's great. So I created a section over here for Cherie to keep her notes, right? But this over here is a list of every meeting we've ever had for this project from the very first meeting on April 1st. It wasn't a joke. all it does is it changes. Here we had a meeting on the first meeting. I had a meeting with Cherie. I had a meeting with the stakeholders. Then we had a long series of work group meetings. Then I met with Jennifer Clare, who's the assistant director. She's the sponsor. And you can see, we can tell us the story of every meeting we've ever had. And all the gory details are in there, right? This last one right here, 6:10, that was the meeting that we had on Monday with just the work group. Now, all the information about the meeting is here. Now, this is interesting right here. This project has two different teams, the work group team and the stakeholder team. This project involves a lot of people that are not RCIT and they're not DPSS. They are people from these organizations like Shelter from the Storm is a domestic violence provider. We have the Veteran Services representative, a representative from the United Way, all of these people. And periodically we have meetings where we invite all these people. So I created two different different lists. There's the work group over here. This is the team that meets every Monday. And if we happen to have a stakeholder meeting, well, hey, I've already got them listed. What happens is whoever attends, I put a check mark next to their name. So on Monday, Barry was there, Ryoko was there, Cherie was there, Josh was there, and this guy named Kurt was there. Periodically, Natalie or Jennifer actually pop in from time to time. And if they do pop in, I'm ready for them. I just put a check mark next to their name. And all of us, our anxiety level goes up a notch because these are really powerful women, right? We want to show them what we got. Down here, this is the heart of it, okay? This is where you're going to run away from me. Okay. Do you remember, have you guys been in meetings before where you're talking away and people are saying stuff and someone says, you know, that's a good idea, we need to remember that, right? And you're looking around to see who's writing it down, right? Is anybody writing it down? And then usually you're like, okay, I'll write it down, right? Or something comes up and nobody says they should remember it, but we all kind of know, hey, we better remember that, but nobody does anything and nobody remembers it, right? As a project manager, I created this log right here. I assign myself the job of having my radar running, and I'm listening as people are talking for anything that needs to be recorded, a decision, an action item, a risk, a change, whatever the case may be, and I write it down during the meeting. I'll go up to, my teams will see me do this, I'll go up and I'll be writing down, oh, I just heard a communication, we need to communicate the contractor start date as a risk to the sponsor, and it says the description is communicate that risk. I assigned it to myself, I said do that by 6:10, the same day, okay? And that's the risk that I'll show you in just a minute, okay? And actually what I forgot to add was that this is a risk. That's a risk. And there's no backup. Well, actually it should be Cherie, because she's my backup. And my supervisor is Mike Scoletti. And big projects, I really fill out all that information because if I assign, let's change that a little bit. Let's say, for example, it was a task that Marissa says, yes, I'm gonna update that document. And I say, okay, so I say, okay, update, good gosh, that's your last name, Juan.
Yeah.
Update doc, okay? And I have more details, right? And I say, okay, Marissa, are you gonna do that?
Yes.
Did I spell your name right?
You did.
Okay, great. Marissa, is there anybody that can do that in case you're not around? Make somebody up.
Monica.
Monica, great. So now I know who the Monica's back. Marissa, who's your supervisor?
Talisha Pitts.
Talisha. I butchered that name, didn't I?
You did.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. She's got a new spelling. The reason I want to know the supervisor is I want to know who to go see if I'm not getting a response from Marissa, right? And it's interesting. People at first, they're a little bit suspicious when I first start doing that. But after a while, they realize that after a while, they work with me. I'm a good guy. I'm going to go to them. But I will go to their supervisor or their manager if I can't get any help. And their supervisor or manager will appear at their desk and say, hey, how's it going with that thing Kurt's asking about? Right?
That also cuts both ways because sometimes somebody might be loaded down with projects and they get, by being aware of the supervisor, something's not getting done, you call up super, oh yeah, they're really busy, blah, 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 but I'll make this one the priority. So it gives this person support.
Thank you, Juan,
Actually, yeah.
for pointing that out. I'm going to share my, can I say dirty laundry in this room? Just keep my job.
Sure.
I'm going to share my dirty laundry. I do a lot of projects with TSB. They're the sysadmin guys. The sysadmin guys are the guys in the bowels of the ship, keeping the engine running, right? Keeping the leaks from coming into the stuff like that. These guys are really busy people. I mean, when they don't do their stuff, the lights go off, right? You guys too, but really happens with them, right? I have a policy when I'm doing TSB projects, I don't assign the project to the person. I assign it to the supervisor. And I use the backup column to identify the name of the person who gets the work done. For that reason, I don't want to, this guy's holding back the flood, right, with his hands. He doesn't need me behind him going, hey, Kurt, hey, how's that thing coming, right? I go to his or her supervisor and I say, can you give me a status report on Rebecca's action item? For that very reason. And that works. Because after a while, what I found on the third floor was if I was bugging the guy or the gal that's holding the water back, they're going to ignore me after a while. Because they really do have much bigger things, but they're not going to ignore their supervisor. And usually their supervisor has a time and a method of communicating with them that's appropriate for that. So there's that, and then I'll say one more thing. Marissa, when can you have this done?
By the end of the week.
Okay. And so that would be, are you on tomorrow?
I'm not.
Okay, is
So
that
by Monday the 17th.
okay, Monday the 17th. Now, guys, this is so much fun with new projects when you start doing this, because they'll say, you'll ask them, okay, when can you have that done? I can have that done tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow is what? That's the 13th. Right, start typing the 13th, and they see you starting typing it, right? And they go, well, wait. I mean the day after tomorrow. Reality check. It works, right? And then I identify what this is. This is an action item, right? Great. And this is the thing at the end of the meeting that I don't allow myself to leave the room until I record these things properly in the log, okay? And then they get removed from this log. The log goes blank. Every meeting begins with a blank log.
So you have this up during the meeting?
Oh yeah. This document right here is where the meeting happens, and I'm bouncing back and forth. Okay, we got something, and then I finish the meeting by going up to the top and saying, okay, everybody, we've completed all our agenda items for today. Is there anything else? No, okay, we've got 2 items. We've got a communication of a risk that needs to go out. That's assigned to me. I'm going to have that out by the end of the day. And Marissa, you're going to be updating that doc, and you'll have that ready by Monday, right? The 17th? Okay, great. Have a great day, everybody. Go forth and prosper. Okay, let's take this item off because this is not really real. Okay, now this part I've been delaying. It sounds like I've been delaying. We've only got 11 minutes left. Where's the time go?
By the way, do you just copy that into a new
Yes.
sheet and then just blank it out?
Ooh, you're so prescient. I think that's the word, right? Yes, that's exactly how. Let's fast forward a week, okay? And in fact, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this right now. Get ready for next week's meeting, okay? Maybe. I don't know if we'll put a pin in this. I'm going to do it. Okay, I may mess up my presentation, but I think I want to do this. Okay, let's go forward. Let's go forward to tomorrow because this meeting is Monday. Getting ready for the next meeting. All you do, you go copy. See what I'm copying the meeting from Monday? Paste. Now I've got 2 610s, right? I go up here. What is Monday? The 17th? Let's change it to the 17th. I deselect the check boxes. Starting fresh, right? Come down here. Whoops. Blank, and there we go. And that's not bold. Is that bold? There we go. And then I come down here. Now, I did get ahead of myself, but hopefully I can keep this solid. This is the story of the project. Okay. Remember those 10 steps that you saw, the little structure? That if we were building a Frankenstein monster, that's the skeleton of the Frankenstein monster. This project has meat and bones and tendons, and the meat and the bones and tendons are all the things that we do, right? Every one of these things has a little abbreviation in front of it that means something. AI means action item. Decision, that's clearly a decision. Let's go down and see if we can see other things. There's an issue right there. And that's it. And there's another decision down there. The way that you read this is that anything that's yellow is open. It hasn't been closed. Anything that's gray, we're done with that thing. Every one of these things, except for the heading categories, is a clickable item. You can open up that item and see read about it if you like. See how the fact that there's a check mark next to everything? That means on Monday's meeting, I talked about that with the team. That's my way of ensuring I don't miss anything. And my teams are really good at picking that out. I'll get to the bottom sometimes. And they'll say, hey, Kurt, I saw something that doesn't have a check mark next to it. I'll go, Oh, yeah, thanks for the reminder. And if I, see, look, did I miss anything on Monday? Nope. I covered everything on Monday. Great. Now, what's really interesting, and we're really lucky here, is that this one right here. Can anybody take a stab and a guess at why that is gray, but it also has a check mark next to it?
There must be an open item there, that technology, AI technology.
There's another one right there. Can anybody put your Sherlock Holmes hat on and reverse sleuth why the heck are we talking about something that's closed? Two of them.
Can we click on the detail?
Yeah, let's click on this one. Technology Procurement Form H11 approved by TSOC, due on May 1st, assigned to Barry. So hey Barry, tell us, how are things going with that H11 going to TSOC? See, this is the log of everything that's happened with this, right? So Barry, the last log was, Barry reports to the team that the H11 has been approved. Oh. And he said it was actually completed on the 5th. Oh. So it's done.
So you talked about it so you could provide that status.
Yeah, and he
Last status.
told us we're done. So what did I do?
Grade it up.
I graded out, right, and I marked it with a checkbox. And guess what? It got to grade this one out because that was the last thing under that header, right? Both of those were yellow. So I closed off this whole branch. But why did I leave the check boxes in place?
Because that's what you talked about at the last meeting.
That's right. That tells me in that meeting, that's the meeting we closed this item. Now, as I'm preparing for the next meeting, I go through this list and I examine each one of these. Project story, yes. I always want to talk about the project story. Pre-project evaluation, yes. This one, it's done. I can take the checkbox off. I'm never going to talk about that again. This one down here, checkbox, goodbye. It enters the background gray. Now I scroll on down. Other pre-project work. Do I have anything open? Oh yeah, I got lots of things open. So I still want to talk about these things. All of these things. Do I see any more grays that have a checkbox? No. Okay, these things, yeah. All of these things. See, these are all those things that you don't have to keep in your mind now. I don't have to remember any of this stuff. This step one, the business case, yeah, that's still open, that's still open. That's important. It's got a star next to it. Down here, yep, this and that. I'm ready for my meeting. If we didn't have this talking, that would be done in 30 seconds. I'd be ready for the meeting. Now, two things. One, why do I have a check mark next to the project story? Can anybody take a guess why? What do you think I'm saying when I get to that item?
I think you always want to review what this is sort of about, right?
Yep. Exactly. Thank you. So a lot of meetings begin, well, who's gonna talk? Why are we here? I'm busy. I'm ready for lunch. What the heck? So I always begin, I stand up usually and I say, okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us again for the HMIS Homeless Application Project. Let's just take a look at our timeline real quick. You can see that we're between the contractor start date. We're on our way towards the vendor RFP release at the end of July. Let's get at it. Click. What I just did was I level set in the room. Did two things. I told everybody where we're at, why we're here, and what we're doing today, and I did another thing. I said, I'm leading the way. That relieves people of the need to worry, to think, oh my God, I've got something to say? Oh, okay, Kurt's going to tell me what to say. They like that. And then people will come back to meetings like that where they know that you're going to lead them. Because that's my job. And then I simply start going down, and I say, okay, everybody, looks like we've still got some pre-project evaluation work to do. Let's check out what that is. Okay, down here, oh, we've got an action item. The oversight review of existing policies and procedures. This is assigned to the HMIS Council and Cherie. Josh notes that no update may be available until after July 10th, after the July 10th HMIS Council meeting. Josh is sitting right here. Josh, is that still the case? No update? Yeah, no update. So I would just either just move on, or I could actually open it and add that information. Do you see, what is the blue then? What is the purpose of the blue?
Kind of quick note.
Yeah, that's my cheat. That's so I don't have to open up the item to see what the status is. Otherwise, I'd have to click on it and, okay, wait a minute, cue the Jeopardy music, right? And then read it. Now I can just read that quick note. The next one is HMIS Software Vendor RFP Release due on July 31st. Barry, you said that you would provide an update as needed. Any update? Yeah, no, we're on schedule. Okay, good, we're on schedule. Next, we've got a risk related to that. See how it's subordinate? The contractor start date. That's assigned to Jennifer and Natalie, our stakeholders. They're going to review the draft risk communication with work group team. Okay, that's where we're going to actually dig in and do some work. That's a risk. Yeah, David.
So the, the blue text, that's the note that you take during the meeting, right? That you're going to go back and update the...
Not necessarily. The note in the meeting may go on two or three sentences. I'm trying to summarize that down to a single sentence. Something that won't wrap.
So it's a quick note.
Very quick note.
And then you're going to go back after the meeting and
Right.
dig deeper into the item. And then
Right. An important guideline, and something that you've segued me nicely into a point I want to make, is I want to make that, like, let's take a look at one real quick. How about this one right here? Visit sites. Shooting for early August completion of site visit. Every one of you understands what that means, right? The purpose, the reason, I want to write it so that anybody that's not a part of this project can understand what it means. One, for example, if he's a project manager as well, let's say I fall sick on Monday, right? Next Monday, I can't show up. I can tag Juan to run this meeting for me, or Marissa, you could run the meeting for me, or Jeff, you could run the meeting for me, because you don't need to know all the details. All you need to do is go through, look at the things in yellow, and ask the person who's named about the status of the thing in blue, and make an update. You don't need to know this project. I've done this with Jolie several times, where one or the other of us has sat in on the other person's project. I don't know what her project's all about. I just run the list. It makes us interchangeable.
And will you add, so let's say you come up to number 11, lessons learned, and, you know, is communicating, and CH says, yeah, you know, we learned a few things. Is that the point where you open up the detail and start capturing that information?
I could do that there, yeah. Another thing could be that Cherie might actually write a document, and she will. She'll write a report document. She'll file that in the document library, and then I'll show you. Where is that? We've got one down here to make that report. Oh, there it is. Produce site visit reports. That's it right there. The last step in that process. Down here, there's link library. So Cherie will file that document, put it in the document library, she'll link it here, and now we've got the document linked. And guys, we are actually just about out of time, but there was just one, I think that's the last slide I wanted to show you. This is the heart and soul of everything, okay? Being able to create this document here is a lot of work, because see all these hyperlinks? Manually put in, right? And I know that Juan was thinking how he could maybe figure out ways to automate some of this, like changing the colors. Okay, if you clicked it might change the color or something, or whatever. But this is a lot of work. But I can tell you, if you make the investment of doing this, you can put the rest of this stuff, all these details out of your mind until the next project, next
So
time.
when you have a new action item during the meeting, you put it up in the log above. At the end of the meeting, you go to the log,
Yeah.
you fill it in the log, and then you come back here for the next meeting to add it to the agenda, or is it automatically added?
Thank you, Marianne. No, it's not. You're right. So the thing that comes up here, okay, you saw it up here before. Let's go back to this one, right? This one right here has one item that came out of the meeting, which was the communicate start date, this risk, right? Mm-hmm. After I created the risk log, I went down here and I asked myself, where does this belong in the story? Where does it belong in the story? And I found a home for it right there. Contractor start date, risk.
Okay, so you manually type that in? It doesn't automatically feed from the log?
It does not.
Yeah, I'm thinking about.
It does not.
I'm believe me, I see all these little road things in the back of my mind is.
And one more thing before I show, and then I'll let you all go. For this project, I did want to show you one risk. This project so far has just one risk. And there it is, contractor risk, contractor start date. That's the one I was telling you about before. Literally, when I identified this risk with the team, I said, oh, okay, time out. We're gonna work this risk together. And I opened up, I went in and clicked new, and I brought this up and I said, edit all. Okay, everybody, we've got a new risk here, the contractor start date, and I started typing. And this is what, I won't suffer you to listen to all of this, but this is what I wrote with the work group team here. We vetted this list, this description. And then we came down here and said our options are 3. We can mitigate, we can accept, or avoid. And then down here we came up with we ranked it, We gave it all the ranking. We said this is a pretty high one. We ended up with a 75. Time frame is immediate. The risk strategy is pending. And I'm going to send this off to the sponsor and let the sponsor then decide what to do. Risks are one of those things that are so easily neglected because it's so much work to do a good job of documenting the risk. I don't let the team leave until I've got them all agreement. And then before I even send the risk, I then send the email to the team again and say, here's what I'm about to type. Because it's really easy to hurt people's feelings if you didn't get it right. Because they feel like they've been thrown under the bus. Because somebody usually owns the risk. And with that, that's all I've got. Are there any other questions?
Just real quick, on the left there, how we have a ServiceNow link,
Yeah.
would it be possible to add, if needed, a Rivco Pro link?
Of
as
course,
well?
yeah, it's just a link library, just add anything you want, right? And that is our, where's that page with the happy faces? There, that's our thing. If I said before that there's a template library, this is the template library here. Every document that we've ever found related to project management, we've branded it and put it in here. So if you need something, see me and I'll help you find it. If we've got it. If we don't, we'll build it. Anything else?
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming and sitting patiently for an hour. Appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you for coming too.